The bustling conference center in San Francisco buzzed with excitement as tech enthusiasts and industry leaders gathered for the annual AI Innovation Summit. Among the crowd, a young woman in her early 30s quietly reviewed her presentation notes one last time. Her simple black blazer and practical shoes stood out among the sea of designer suits, but her determined expression showed she belonged there just as much as anyone else. As a single mom working in tech, she had learned to make every minute count. Her presentation materials were prepared during lunch breaks and after bedtime stories, polished in those precious quiet moments when her kids were finally asleep. The journey to this moment hadn't been easy. Countless nights spent coding while balancing a household budget, early mornings practicing her pitch before making school lunches, and endless juggling of deadlines with doctor appointments and parent-teacher meetings. Today, though, all that hard work was about to pay off. Her hands trembled slightly as she clutched her laptop, containing the project she'd poured her heart into for the past 2 years. It wasn't just another AI model, it was a practical solution born from real-world problems she'd observed. Her algorithm could revolutionize how electric vehicles charged, making it more efficient for busy families while reducing strain on the power grid. The conference room was packed, with people even standing along the walls. She noticed some attendees checking their phones, others whispering to their neighbors. Then her eyes landed on someone unexpected in the third row, Elon Musk himself, surprisingly dressed in a simple black t-shirt, looking through the conference schedule. Her heart skipped a beat, but she took a deep breath, remembering her kids' words that morning. "You've got this, Mom." They had made her a good luck card with crayon drawings of rockets and electric cars, now safely tucked in her laptop bag. Those precious drawings gave her more courage than any professional certification ever could. Just as she was about to begin, her phone buzzed. Her son's school was calling. He had forgotten his inhaler. For a split second, panic threatened to overwhelm her, but years of handling crises had taught her to think on her feet. She quickly messaged her neighbor, a retired teacher who often helped with emergency pickups, while opening her presentation slides. The moderator announced her name, and she stepped onto the stage. Instead of starting with dry technical specifications, she began with a story, one about a busy parent trying to charge their electric car while managing a hectic schedule. The audience's attention shifted. Phones were put away as heads nodded in recognition of this everyday challenge. As she moved through her presentation, she noticed Musk leaning forward, his expression changing from polite interest to genuine curiosity. She explained how her algorithm learned from family routines, adapting charging schedules to real-life patterns rather than ideal scenarios. The solution wasn't just technically impressive, it understood human behavior. Her voice grew stronger as she shared practical examples, how the system could automatically adjust charging times based on school schedules, work commitments, and even local event calendars. She demonstrated how it could save families money while helping power companies better manage grid resources. This wasn't just theory, it was innovation rooted in everyday life. The room grew more engaged with each slide. Even the most skeptical-looking executives were now taking notes. She caught a glimpse of Musk typing something on his phone, and for a moment, worry crept in. Was he already dismissing her ideas? But she pushed ahead, believing in her work and the real-world problems it could solve. As she wrapped up her presentation, something unexpected happened. The questions from the audience weren't just about technical specifications. They were about implementation, about real families, about making life easier for everyday people. She answered each one with confidence, drawing from both her professional knowledge and personal experience. What she didn't notice was Musk showing his phone to his assistant, pointing at something on the screen. She was too focused on answering questions about how her system could help working parents, small businesses, and communities. Her responses weren't just technically sound, they were grounded in reality, shaped by years of balancing professional ambition with family responsibilities. The moderator had to step in to end the queue and a session as it ran over time. As people began filing out for the lunch break, she packed up her laptop, already thinking about picking up her kids from after-school activities. She had no idea that her life was about to change, or that the next few minutes would lead to an opportunity she never imagined possible. Just as the young mother was gathering her presentation materials, her phone lit up with a message that made her stomach drop. Her regular babysitter had caught the flu, and there was no one to watch her 7-year-old daughter during the afternoon session. The conference organizers have strictly mentioned no children in their guidelines, but she had no choice. Her daughter would have to come. 20 minutes later, her little girl sat quietly in the back row of the presentation hall, armed with coloring books and wearing her favorite space-themed headphones. The child's neat school uniform and carefully braided hair reflected her mother's attention to detail, even in crisis moments. Several attendees glanced curiously at the young girl, but her presence added an unexpected authenticity to the upcoming demonstration. Elon Musk had moved to the front row after the lunch break, his curiosity apparently piqued by the morning presentation. He was casually making notes on his phone while occasionally glancing at the child in the back, who was now deeply absorbed in drawing what appeared to be electric cars with rainbow-colored charging stations. The afternoon session began with a live demonstration of the charging algorithm. The young mother had set up a small-scale model showing how her system would work in a typical suburban neighborhood. As she explained the technical details, she naturally wove in real-world examples that resonated with everyone in the room. Imagine a single parent trying to manage their evening routine, she explained, her voice steady despite her nerves. They need to help with homework, prepare dinner, and ensure their electric vehicle is charged for tomorrow's commute. Our system learns from their daily patterns and automatically optimizes charging times. The demonstration showed how the AI adapted to unexpected schedule changes, a concept she knew all too well. She used examples that struck home with many in the audience: late meetings, school events, and emergency grocery runs. The system didn't just work with ideal scenarios, it handled real-life's messy complications. In the middle of her demonstration, her daughter quietly raised her hand from the back row. Instead of ignoring it or becoming flustered, the mother smoothly incorporated it into her presentation. "Yes, sweetheart," she asked with a warm smile. "Mom, isn't this like how you always charge your car after my ballet class because the electricity is cheaper then?" the child asked innocently. The audience chuckled, and even Musk cracked a smile. This unscripted moment perfectly illustrated the practical application of her innovation. She explained how her algorithm indeed considered factors like time-of-use electricity rates and typical family activities to optimize charging schedules. As she continued the demonstration, she showed how the system could coordinate charging times across an entire neighborhood, preventing grid overload while still ensuring everyone's needs were met. The technical complexity of her solution was impressive, but it was the human-centered approach that caught everyone's attention. Musk was now leaning forward in his seat, his phone forgotten as he watched the real-time data adjustments on the screen. The system wasn't just theoretical, it was solving real problems that affected millions of families. When she showed how it could save an average family hundreds of dollars annually while reducing their carbon footprint, the room broke into spontaneous applause. Her daughter beamed with pride from the back row, giving her mother a thumbs up. This small gesture didn't go unnoticed by the audience, including Musk, who seemed to be seeing something beyond just the technical achievement before him. The Q&A session that followed was unlike any other at the conference. Questions ranged from technical specifications to practical applications, and she answered each one with a blend of expertise and real-world wisdom. When someone asked about system reliability, she explained how she designed it with busy parents in mind, people who couldn't afford charging failures on school mornings or emergency hospital runs. Throughout the demonstration, her daughter remained remarkably well-behaved, occasionally adding color to her drawings of what she called smart cars talking to each other. Her presence wasn't a distraction. Instead, it reinforced the very real human needs that this technology was designed to address. As the session concluded, several attendees approached to ask more questions, but Musk remained in his seat, typing rapidly on his phone. The young mother began packing up her equipment while keeping an eye on her daughter, unaware that her demonstration had just set in motion events that would change not just her life, but potentially the future of electric vehicle charging infrastructure. As the conference room began to empty, the young mother was carefully wrapping up the cables from her demonstration setup while her daughter gathered her colored pencils. The afternoon sunlight streamed through the tall windows, casting long shadows across the now quiet room. She was already mentally planning dinner, Maybe they'd grab pizza on the way home as a special treat for her daughter being so patient all afternoon. That charging optimization algorithm, did you really develop it between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m.? The voice was unmistakable. She turned to find Elon Musk standing there, his expression curious and focused. Her daughter's eyes widened, recognizing him from the videos they'd watched together about space rockets. Most days, she replied with a tired smile. It's the only quiet time when you're a single parent. She noticed he was holding her technical specification sheet, covered in his handwritten notes. Instead of offering generic praise, Musk dove straight into detailed questions about her methodology. Your system accounts for variable grid loads better than anything I've seen. How did you handle the peak demand predictions? She explained how she developed the predictive model during countless early mornings, testing scenarios while her coffee brewed and before her kids woke up for school. The conversation shifted from technical specifications to real-world applications, with Musk firing questions faster than she could pack her equipment. "Look at this, Mom," her daughter interrupted, holding up a drawing of what looked like a rocket-powered car. Musk paused mid-question to examine the artwork. "That's actually not a bad design concept," he said thoughtfully, making the little girl beam with pride. Returning to their discussion, he was particularly interested in how she'd solved the neighborhood grid balance problem. She explained how the solution came to her during a PTA meeting of all places. "I noticed how parents naturally coordinated pickup times to help each other out. It made me think, why couldn't electric cars do the same thing with charging schedules?" Her explanation of how the algorithm mimicked human cooperation patterns caught his full attention. She pulled out her laptop, showing him the code she'd refined during late nights after homework help and bedtime stories. The technical elegance of her solution was even more impressive considering the constraints she'd worked under. "Most developers throw computing power at the problem," Musk observed, scrolling through her efficiency metrics. "You found a smarter way." He seemed particularly impressed by how she documented everything meticulously, despite her limited time. She told him about the debugging sessions done during soccer practices, the optimization improvements figured out while waiting at dental appointments, and the breakthrough that came during a midnight fever watch when her youngest had the flu. Each challenge in her personal life had somehow contributed to making the system more robust and adaptable. "Mom, can we show him the simulation with the dancing cars?" her daughter asked, referring to the kid-friendly visualization she'd created to explain her work to her children. Musk's eyebrows raised with interest, and she pulled up the animation showing how vehicles in a neighborhood danced to balance their charging needs. The simple visualization revealed complex coordination patterns that even veteran engineers had missed. Musk watched intently as she explained how the system learned from usage patterns, much like how she'd learned to juggle her own pack schedule. "You thought of edge cases that wouldn't occur to someone working in ideal conditions," he noted, pointing to her handling of emergency charging needs. She explained how being a single parent had taught her to always have a backup plan, and a backup for the backup. Their discussion continued as the cleaning staff began preparing the room for the next day. Her daughter had fallen asleep on a conference chair, her drawings scattered around her. The evening sun had faded, and the city lights were twinkling outside the windows. "One last question," Musk said, helping her gather her daughter's artwork. "How did you test the system's response to unexpected demand spikes?" Her answer revealed months of simulations run on a modest laptop, often with her children's homework spread across the same table. As she finally packed the last of her equipment, she noticed Musk making a phone call, speaking quietly but intensely. She was too busy wrapping her sleeping daughter in her jacket to pay much attention. After all, she had to get home. Tomorrow was another school day. What she didn't realize was that her practical innovations, born from the challenges of single parenthood, were about to open doors she never imagined possible. Her unique approach to problem-solving, shaped by real-life constraints, had caught the attention of someone who knew a thing or two about changing the world. The morning after the conference, the young mother was in her usual routine, making breakfast, checking backpacks, and hurrying her kids to brush their teeth. Her phone buzzed with an unknown number, but she ignored it, focused on getting lunches packed. It wasn't until she dropped the kids at school that she finally checked her voicemail. "This is Elon Musk's office. He'd like to discuss your charging optimization system." Please call us back at your earliest convenience. Her hands trembled as she pulled into a parking spot, the morning commute traffic honking around her. Later that afternoon, she sat in a sleek conference room at Tesla's headquarters, her worn laptop looking out of place on the polished table. Musk walked in, still in his characteristic simple black t-shirt, carrying a folder thick with notes from her presentation. "We want you to lead a special project team," he said without preamble. "Your charging system could revolutionize how we approach grid integration." He slid across a document outlining the role. The salary made her eyes widen, but it was the project scope that caught her breath. This would be a dream come true, but she started thinking about school pickups and soccer practices. Before she could finish, Musk interrupted with an unexpected question. "What time do you usually work on your best code?" he asked, surprising her. When she answered honestly, "Between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m., after I've packed tomorrow's lunches," he nodded thoughtfully. "That's exactly why we need you," he replied. "You've built something remarkable while managing a family alone. Imagine what you could do with proper resources." He paused, then added, "But we need to make this work for you and your kids." She took a deep breath and did something few people dared. She negotiated with Elon Musk. "I can give you brilliant solutions," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "But I need flexibility. My children aren't just a constraint, they're why my system works so well. Real-world problems need real-world solutions." To her surprise, Musk leaned forward with interest. "What exactly would you need?" She pulled out her phone, showing her carefully organized calendar, a complex dance of school events, doctor appointments, and work commitments. "I can work anywhere, anytime," she explained. "But I need to be there for morning drop-offs and afternoon pickups. I can take calls during soccer practice and code during dance lessons. My best debugging happens after bedtime stories." Instead of dismissing her terms, Musk started taking notes. "Keep going," he encouraged. She outlined a flexible schedule that would let her maintain her family responsibilities while delivering the innovation Tesla needed. "My children made me a better engineer," she continued, growing more confident. "When you have limited time, you find smarter solutions. When resources are tight, you learn to optimize everything. That's exactly what this project needs." She pulled up her latest code iteration, something she'd worked on during her daughter's piano lesson yesterday. "See this elegant solution for handling peak load?" It came from watching parents coordinate carpools. Real life inspires better engineering. Musk studied the code, then looked at her calendar again. "What if we set up a workspace near your kids' school?" he suggested, "and provided emergency backup care options." She hadn't expected that level of accommodation from a company known for its intense work culture. They spent the next hour crafting an unconventional arrangement. She would have core hours that aligned with school schedules, flexible remote work options, and the freedom to integrate her family life with her professional contributions. "One condition," Musk added as they wrapped up. "We want you to document how you do this. Other parents in tech need to see it's possible." She thought about all the talented parents, especially single mothers, who felt forced to choose between their children and their careers. As she walked out of Tesla's headquarters, her phone buzzed with a text from the school. Her son had aced his science test. She smiled, realizing that her new role might show him that you don't have to sacrifice family for success in tech. That evening, as she helped with homework at their small kitchen table, the daughter asked, "Mom, are we going to be rich now?" She hugged her child close and answered, "Better than that, honey. We're going to help make the world a little bit better, and we'll do it together." Her laptop sat open nearby, displaying the project outline she negotiated. It wasn't just a job offer, it was a chance to prove that the best innovations come from understanding real people's lives. As her children settled into their evening routine, she realized that her biggest challenge was about to become her greatest opportunity. 2 months into her new role at Tesla, the young mother sat in her specially arranged workspace near her children's school. The walls were covered with both complex engineering diagrams and her kids' artwork, a perfect blend of her two worlds. Her team had just wrapped up their morning meeting, and she couldn't help but smile at how different things were from what she'd expected. Her unconventional working style had initially raised eyebrows among some traditional engineers. But those doubts began to fade when her approach to problem-solving started producing unexpected breakthroughs. During one crucial meeting, while explaining a particularly tricky charging coordination problem, she used an analogy that resonated deeply with the team. "Think of it like organizing a school pickup line," she explained, drawing from her daily experience. "Every parent has different constraints. Some need to get to work early, others have multiple stops to make. But somehow, everyone gets their kids safely and efficiently. That's exactly how our charging network should work." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Her real-world perspective had just simplified what they'd been overcomplicating for months. One senior engineer spoke up. "We've been approaching this like a pure engineering problem, but it's really about understanding human patterns." Her influence began spreading beyond just technical solutions. When another team member, a father of twins, was struggling with late-night debugging sessions, she showed him how to break down complex problems into smaller chunks that could fit into parent-friendly time slots. "I used to think being a parent was a handicap in tech," he confided during a coffee break. "But you've shown us it's actually a superpower." Her methods of maximizing productivity in short-time bursts became so effective that even team members without children started adopting them. During one particularly challenging week, her daughter caught the flu, forcing her to work remotely. Instead of falling behind, she used the experience to improve their system's emergency adaptation protocols. "If a parent can adjust their schedule for a sick child," she explained to Musk during their weekly review, "our charging network can certainly adapt to unexpected grid demands." The project took an interesting turn when she suggested installing a small playground near their testing facility. Some executives were skeptical until she explained her reasoning. "Parents can bring their kids after school, supervise them while monitoring test runs, and we get real-world usage patterns to study." The playground became a goldmine of user behavior data. Her approach to team management was equally revolutionary. She introduced parent-friendly meeting times that avoided school runs, flexible work hours that accommodated family commitments, and remote work options that didn't sacrifice productivity. To everyone's surprise, these changes led to higher team efficiency and better problem-solving. One day, while helping her son with his math homework between code reviews, she had another breakthrough. "Mom, why don't the cars just take turns like we do in the lunch line?" her son asked innocently. This simple question led to a revolutionary new queuing algorithm for peak charging times. The team's success began attracting attention throughout the company. Other departments started adopting her methodologies, recognizing that diverse life experiences could drive innovation rather than hinder it. Even the most traditional managers couldn't argue with the results. Her team was consistently outperforming expectations while maintaining better work-life balance. During a company-wide presentation, she demonstrated how their charging system had evolved. "Every feature you see here," she explained, "was inspired by real-life challenges." The emergency charging protocol came from a parent rushing to a child's sudden doctor appointment. The neighborhood load balancing system was inspired by how school carpools organize themselves. Musk, watching from the back of the room, nodded in approval. The project had exceeded his expectations, not just in technical achievement, but in transforming how the company approached problem-solving. Her team had proved that understanding real human needs led to better technical solutions. As she wrapped up the presentation, her phone buzzed with a reminder. It was time for her daughter's ballet recital. Without missing a beat, she smoothly transitioned to her backup presenter, demonstrating exactly the kind of flexibility their charging system was designed to provide. Walking out of the building that evening, holding her daughter's hand, she reflected on how far they'd come. Her unique perspective hadn't just solved technical challenges, it had shown that the best innovations come from embracing life's beautiful complications. 2 months into her new role at Tesla, the young mother sat in her specially arranged workspace near her children's school. The walls were covered with both complex engineering diagrams and her kids' artwork, a perfect blend of her two worlds. Her team had just wrapped up their morning meeting, and she couldn't help but smile at how different things were from what she'd expected. Her unconventional working style had initially raised eyebrows among some traditional engineers. But those doubts began to fade when her approach to problem-solving started producing unexpected breakthroughs. During one crucial meeting, while explaining a particularly tricky charging coordination problem, she used an analogy that resonated deeply with the team. Think of it like organizing a school pickup line, she explained, drawing from her daily experience. Every parent has different constraints. Some need to get to work early, others have multiple stops to make. But somehow, everyone gets their kids safely and efficiently. That's exactly how our charging network should work. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Her real-world perspective had just simplified what they'd been overcomplicating for months. One senior engineer spoke up. "We've been approaching this like a pure engineering problem, but it's really about understanding human patterns." Her influence began spreading beyond just technical solutions. When another team member, a father of twins, was struggling with late-night debugging sessions, she showed him how to break down complex problems into smaller chunks that could fit into parent-friendly time slots. "I used to think being a parent was a handicap in tech," he confided during a coffee break. "But you've shown us it's actually a superpower." Her methods of maximizing productivity in short time bursts became so effective that even team members without children started adopting them. During one particularly challenging week, her daughter caught the flu, forcing her to work remotely. Instead of falling behind, she used the experience to improve their system's emergency adaptation protocols. If a parent can adjust their schedule for a sick child, she explained to Musk during their weekly review, our charging network can certainly adapt to unexpected grid demands. The project took an interesting turn when she suggested installing a small playground near their testing facility. Some executives were skeptical until she explained her reasoning. Parents can bring their kids after school, supervise them while monitoring test runs, and we get real-world usage patterns to study. The playground became a goldmine of user behavior data. Her approach to team management was equally revolutionary. She introduced parent-friendly meeting times that avoided school runs, flexible work hours that accommodated family commitments, and remote work options that didn't sacrifice productivity. To everyone's surprise, these changes led to higher team efficiency and better problem-solving. One day, while helping her son with his math homework between code reviews, she had another breakthrough. "Mom, why don't the cars just take turns like we do in the lunch line?" her son asked innocently. This simple question led to a revolutionary new queuing algorithm for peak charging times. The team's success began attracting attention throughout the company. Other departments started adopting her methodologies, recognizing that diverse life experiences could drive innovation rather than hinder it. Even the most traditional managers couldn't argue with the results. Her team was consistently outperforming expectations while maintaining better work-life balance. During a company-wide presentation, she demonstrated how their charging system had evolved. "Every feature you see here," she explained, was inspired by real-life challenges. The emergency charging protocol came from a parent rushing to a child's sudden doctor appointment. The neighborhood load balancing system was inspired by how school carpools organize themselves. Musk, watching from the back of the room, nodded in approval. The project had exceeded his expectations, not just in technical achievement, but in transforming how the company approached problem-solving. Her team had proved that understanding real human needs led to better technical solutions. As she wrapped up the presentation, her phone buzzed with a reminder. It was time for her daughter's ballet recital. Without missing a beat, she smoothly transitioned to her backup presenter, demonstrating exactly the kind of flexibility their charging system was designed to provide. Walking out of the building that evening, holding her daughter's hand, she reflected on how far they'd come. Her unique perspective hadn't just solved technical challenges, it had shown that the best innovations come from embracing life's beautiful complications. Word spread quickly through the tech industry about the single mother who was revolutionizing Tesla's charging systems. Her story began appearing in engineering blogs and industry newsletters, but it wasn't just her technical achievements that caught people's attention, it was how she'd accomplished them. One morning, while helping her daughter practice for a science fair, she received an unexpected email. A major tech magazine wanted to feature her in their cover story. The working title was "Recharging the Future: How a Mother's Perspective Changed Tesla." She smiled, remembering the days when she'd felt almost embarrassed about working on code during her kids' piano lessons. "Mom, are you going to be famous?" her daughter asked, looking up from her project about renewable energy. "No, honey," she replied, "but maybe we can help other parents know they don't have to choose between their dreams and their family." The article's publication opened floodgates of responses. Her inbox filled with messages from parents in tech, especially single mothers, who saw themselves in her story. "I was about to quit engineering," one wrote. "Your story showed me there's another way." During a tech conference where she was invited to speak, something remarkable happened. Instead of just asking about technical specifications, attendees wanted to know about her working methods. How did she manage team meetings around school schedules? How did she turn parenting challenges into engineering solutions? Success in tech isn't about working 24/7, she explained to the packed audience. It's about bringing your whole self to the problem. She shared how watching her kids solve playground disputes had inspired better conflict resolution in charging priorities between vehicles. Elon Musk, who had been quietly observing her impact, made an unexpected appearance at her session. "What we learned," he told the audience, "is that different perspectives don't just add to innovation, they multiply it." The video of his speech went viral, especially the part where he described how her mom-inspired solutions outperformed traditional approaches. Back at Tesla, she noticed more parents bringing photos of their kids to work, no longer feeling the need to hide their family lives. During one team meeting, a new engineer apologized for his child's noise in the background of a video call. "That's not a disruption," she corrected gently. "That's life-inspiring innovation." Her influence spread beyond just working parents. Young engineers began approaching problems differently, asking not just, "How can we make this faster?" but "How can we make this work better for real people?" Her team's success had proven that empathy and engineering weren't just compatible, they were complementary. The playground near the testing facility had become a symbol of their new approach. Other companies started creating similar spaces, recognizing that supporting family life could drive innovation. One afternoon, while watching kids play there after school, she overheard two engineers discussing a charging optimization problem. Their solution came from watching how the children naturally took turns on the swing set. During a leadership meeting, she proposed something bold: a mentorship program specifically for parent engineers. "We're not just solving technical problems," she explained. "We're showing that diversity of experience leads to better solutions." Musk not only approved the program, but made it a company-wide initiative. The media attention brought speaking requests from universities and tech companies. At first, she was hesitant. Public speaking had never been her thing. But then her son asked, "Mom, remember when you said we should help others if we can?" Those words convinced her to accept. Her first college speech was scheduled right after her daughter's school play. She arrived still wearing the proud parent button from the performance. Instead of hiding it, she started her talk by showing it off. "This is why our solutions work," she said, "because we understand that technology needs to serve real life, not the other way around." The questions after her talks were always interesting. Young students wanted to know if they had to choose between career and family. Her answer was always the same: "The right workplace doesn't make you choose, it helps you succeed at both." One evening, as she helped her kids with homework while reviewing code on her laptop, a news alert popped up. Her charging system had just won a major innovation award. Her daughter looked at the notification and asked, "Is this because you're smart, Mom?" "No, sweetie," she replied, hugging her children close. "It's because life taught me that the best solutions come from understanding what people really need." As her kids returned to their homework, she glanced at her laptop screen, where dozens of congratulatory messages were pouring in from parents across the tech industry. Her story had become more than just personal success. It was changing how the tech world thought about innovation, family, and the power of diverse perspectives. And it all started with a single mother who dared to bring her whole self to work. 1 year after joining Tesla, the young mother stood in front of her bathroom mirror, adjusting her jacket for an important presentation. Her daughter poked her head in, holding up 2 scrunchies. "The blue one," she suggested with a smile, remembering how this same little girl had sat quietly with her coloring books during that life-changing conference. Today was special. Tesla was launching a new initiative based on her success story. The Parents in Tech program would be rolled out across all departments, creating flexible workspaces near schools and offering resources for parent engineers. What had started as her personal journey had grown into something much bigger. "Ready for the big day?" Elon Musk asked as she entered the conference hall. The room was packed with executives from various tech companies, all curious about how Tesla had achieved record-breaking innovation rates while embracing family-friendly policies. She began her presentation not with charts or graphs, but with a photo of her old kitchen table, sticky notes, and children's homework scattered around her laptop. "This is where our breakthrough charging algorithm was born," she explained. "Because sometimes the best innovations come from the messiest parts of real life." The audience leaned forward as she shared how her team had transformed workplace culture. They'd created homework rooms near testing facilities where employees' children could study while their parents worked nearby. These spaces had unexpectedly become innovation hubs, where engineers would take breaks to help kids with math problems and return to their work with fresh perspectives. "Our charging stations now adapt to real-life patterns," she explained, showing a map of their network. "They understand that a parent rushing to a school pickup needs different priorities than a truck making deliveries. And this understanding came from living these challenges, not just theorizing about them." During the Q&A session, a young engineer raised her hand. "I'm pregnant and worried about my career in tech," she admitted. The room grew quiet. The mother smiled warmly and shared how her son's question about lunch lines had inspired their most efficient charging queue system. "Being a parent didn't limit my engineering, it enhanced it," she explained. "Every school run, every sports practice, every late-night fever became an opportunity to understand what our users really needed." Her words resonated through the room, where several attendees were quietly wiping away tears. Musk took the stage next, announcing that Tesla would share their parent-friendly workplace guidelines with other companies. "Innovation doesn't happen in a vacuum," he stated. "It happens in the middle of real life, with all its beautiful complications." After the presentation, she hurried to her son's school science fair. Her team had helped him build a miniature version of their charging system for his project. As she watched him proudly explain load balancing to his classmates, she realized how much had changed in just 1 year. The next morning, she received an unexpected email. A major tech industry group wanted to create a certification program based on her workplace model. Companies could earn family innovation badges by implementing parent-friendly policies that encouraged diverse thinking. During her team's weekly meeting, held in their playground-adjacent conference room, she looked around at the changes. Engineers bounced ideas while pushing kids on swings. A dad debugged code during his daughter's soccer practice. A single mom participated via video call while waiting at her son's dentist appointment. "Remember when people thought this couldn't work?" one team member asked, gesturing to their unconventional setup. The room erupted in laughter. Their team had just set another performance record, all while maintaining healthy family lives. That evening, as she helped her daughter with a coding project, her choice, not mom's, her phone buzzed with news that 3 more major tech companies had adopted their workplace model. Her daughter looked up from the computer. "Mom, did you know you changed things for other families too?" She hugged her child close, remembering the nervous single mother who once coded in pre-dawn hours, wondering if she belonged in tech. "We changed things together, honey. All of us did." The story of the single mother who transformed Tesla had become more than just an inspiration. It was now a blueprint for the future. Her journey proved that the best innovations come not from sacrificing life for work, but from bringing your whole life to work. As she tucked her kids into bed that night, a new email arrived from a young engineer in another country, thanking her for showing that parent engineers could thrive in tech. She smiled, knowing that somewhere, another parent was coding with a child's drawing nearby, no longer afraid to bring their whole self to work. The tech world had gained more than just efficient charging algorithms. It had discovered that embracing life's complications could lead to better solutions. And it all started with one mother who dared to believe that being a parent wasn't a limitation, but a source of innovation.